Well, hello YouTube, and welcome back to the Holex channel. And today we're going to be doing a little, well, it's going to be a product review and a challenge both at the same time. I've got two magbases here that we're going to be checking out, doing a product review on basically both of them. One is the Fisso Strato line, I believe is the model, and then this privately labeled magbase by Holex. Holex is the house brand of Hoffmann, and this was manufactured by Noga out of Israel. It's a pretty stout little magbase. I was really pleasantly surprised when I got it. The quality of it is you know, right up there with other Noga magbases. Now this Fisso is like the articulated Noga mag bases. The only difference is it's a little bit cheaper. Not much, but a little bit. It operates on a hydraulic principle as well. When you release the thing and tighten it up, there's a hydraulic piston or something in there that forces out fluid and, you know, arrests motion of the articulated arm. So anyway, I'm going to bring the camera around here. We'll take a look at this other cheap Chinese one the company has in the cabinet over here. We're going to first see how much deflection there is just by hand on the dial. This indicator is set up. This is a thousandths indicator, thousandths of a millimeter. This is 1/100ths, and you'll see it when I get the camera in close up here. Excuse me, how much deflection there's going to be in the arm itself. Now I raised this one up straight so that we get the maximum amount of deflection in the system, so that, you know, it's at its weakest point, you know, with the arm straight out or straight up, and you know, if it's bent somehow or another, you know, or you know, put it in a different position, you may or may not have more. Generally, you have less deflection than you would if it's just straight up and down. So anyway, let me bring the camera around here. Oh, what I was going to tell you too, is we're not only going to do this by hand on the tabletop here. We're going to put a piece of just a regular water pipe in the chuck of the lathe, and then fire up the lathe and let it rotate slowly. You know, because you're doing a comparative measurement here. You're not doing an actual measurement where you're saying, okay, I'm measuring 1/100ths of a millimeter or this or something like that. You're just looking for an out around kind of thing. And so when you pick up the slack, when your spring is putting compression on the pin resting against the work, you know, the arm should be rigid enough to where there's no motion in the arm, just in the mechanism of the dial indicator. So that's what we're going to be checking out today. And so rapid movement, you know, will cause, because the spring doesn't have time to compress, you will see some movement in the second dial indicator. So we're going to put the dial indicator on the lathe as well and rotate it once around by hand. Then, of course, you know, probably let it run, you know, turn it at a very low RPM. But we're going to focus primarily on turn it by hand. And so that way you can see the difference, how the spring has time to compress versus not to compress and so forth. So anyway, let me bring the camera around here and we'll get started on the review, and we'll also get going on the challenge. Alrighty, YouTubers, well, we're going to go into the review part of this video, and here we have the Swiss-made Fisso. It says microline or mu line back here on the holder. This whole unit weighs, I'm guessing, somewhere in the neighborhood of close to 3 pounds, maybe. Somewhere in there. It's pretty heavy. It's not a light device. It has, let's see, this is the 280 millimeter model, so at full extension, it is 280 millimeters. Now we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 axes of movement here. So you have down here in the base on a pivot, and then of course, whoops, then you have the slot here to where you can bring it down like that, and then of course it rotates on its own axis here as well. So if I were to rotate it like that, you can see there's still some movement there. And of course this one up here, and then again the same thing is down here. You have an axis turn here, a ball joint up here that you can rest here on that. The one thing that I've noticed, and this one differs considerably from the one we saw that Stefan Gotteswinder was showcasing in his recent video. Let me try to get that in frame here. Is the head on this. Now his is set up a little different. This is, let me zoom you in here so we can get a real good look at this guy. So here we've got, this is basically all machined out of one piece, and there's a separate piece in here that acts as a wedge that when you turn the small screw up here, this pushes down and forces the whole thing apart. And so you can really do some fine adjustment there. And then on the back side, let me flip this around here. We've got our little release lever here for the, this actually releases the dovetail. There's a, let me bring you in here. Oops, come on, get in the frame. We've got a little mounting clamp here with a dovetail. And yeah, it's kind of hard to turn it and look in the... Come on, get back in frame. Here we go. You can see the dovetail on here on this this part of the holder. Now with the other type of gauge, let me grab one here real quick. Then we've got this kind of dial indicator here, and you can see there's on the front. And then on the back you have this dovetail on the top. And so this slides into this part of the dial indicator just oh so perfectly. Let me give this a slight pre-tighten here. Sorry about the hands in the way. And so you can just slide that in there without having to have this part here or using the little part that comes with the dial indicator in the box. You can just slap it right in there without any other additional parts and pieces. So again, this is a hydraulic indicator arm. Let me zoom you back out here. Magnetic base on-off switch. It's just same as just any of the rest of them, but you have what sets this one apart from all the rest is this type of micro adjust. This is well suited for a dial indicator that measures in the thousandths, like we saw on the other mag base that I have set up in this video. So just to show us how sensitive that is, let me grab that and set that up. Alrighty, here we go. Now we're all set up on this. So we've got a little bit of pressure on this 1, 2, 3 block, and now we're going to go ahead and see how. Normally, when you touch one of these dials with a thousandths indicator on here, or in this case, or stateside 10 thousandths indicators, and 10 thousandths of an inch. This is again a 1/1000th of a millimeter. So when you touch this dial on another type of indicator or mag base, the needle just jumps all over the place and it gets really, really touchy. So if we give it just a little bit of pressure here, you can actually see, let me zoom in a little more. So when you touch this, as you can see, there's just ever so slightly, but this is a little more easier to dial in than one of the standard indicator bases. So this is a little, a little more user friendly. That's what I like about this. Now it's still touchy, but that's just the nature of the beast with these thousands indicators. So anyway, there's that. So we'll move on to the Noga privately labeled magbase from Holex. Okay, so here's the Noga under license to Holex for, I don't know how you'd put it, the Holex under license from Noga, privately labeled for Hoffmann. Just a simple dial indicator base. Excuse me. Right in my throat there. The pillar here is 22 centimeters, so 220 millimeters by 16 millimeters diameter. Again, just basic, mag-based stuff here. There's nothing really to write home about. Again, you have this fine set feature here, and then got a pin that comes in here that you can stick in here for storage so that this doesn't get lost, because you when you tighten this up all the way, it won't tighten up unless there's something in there, and you don't want to stick a mag or a dial indicator in there and store your mag base, so that way you got something to. I'm pretty sure that just about every mag base is kind of delivered that way, but from the quality here, pretty straightforward. I'll get some stills here that you guys can gander at the end of the video. It's got a prism on the bottom, or a V-groove on the bottom. Same thing with the Fisso there too. I forgot to mention that. And the quality of the thing is pretty nice. I can't fault it anywhere. Nice solid feel to it. The mag base here itself, if I read the spec sheet right, fastens to the table with 1,000 newtons, whatever that comes out to. I think that's around 280 pounds or some crazy ass thing like that. Anyway, it's an insanely powerful magnet. You can break it loose from the table, but it does take considerable force, and unless you got, a monster dial indicator, I seriously doubt your dial indicator is ever going to force the thing away from the table. So anyway, that's I bought this brand new from Hoffmann here a year or 2 years ago. Haven't used it all that much. It has been a good mag base. I can't see anything wrong with it. The Chinese one we have in the cabinet are about the same. They're the quality in them, they're about the same. There's some small subtle differences, but most of it's in the magnet and how powerful it is. Other than that, where you get your mag base at the end of the day is secondary in nature, unless you need a fully articulated one like the Fisso or the Noga. Okay, to give you an idea where we're at here, we're sitting on the table with the Bridgeport, and with nothing behind it. I'm going to try and pan the camera here. This tripod's a little stiff, and so there's nothing else behind the dial indicators. And so now we're going to zoom in here just a wee bit. And you can see the indicator on the right is the one in thousandths. It's manufactured by Tesa in Switzerland. And the one on the left is the Mauser. Excuse my fat head here. So again, this one is 1/100th of a millimeter divisions on the face of the dial. This is 1/1000. So let me turn the viewfinder around here on the camera so it might be wobbly. Okay. so I can see what I'm doing in the camera here as well as you guys. So I'm going to push against the top of the thing here, and you can see movement. I'm pushing with about, roughly a pound of force, and I'm getting 0.02 of a millimeter movement. So now we're going to just push against the pin of the dial indicator here and see what kind of movement we're getting. And we're getting exactly 0. This is now full. Now if I give this a real fast push, now we're seeing movement, because then the internal workings of the dial indicator being actuated creates enough of a momentum to create its own deflection in the arm here. So as you can see, it doesn't take much to create a little movement in there. You can see there is movement. So if we now when I let this go real fast, you can see the needle going down, and that's just from the inertia, the momentum of the spring pushing the rod back, and then the thing impacting and stopping suddenly and carrying on, and creating enough motion to where this will actually move. But as you can see, there's minimal, if any, movement. This is just for me not pushing on it straight. There we go. Well, as you can see, YouTubers, there's really not much deflection in one of these arms to create a whole lot of necessity for a super rigid setup for doing your day-to-day comparative measurements. Okay, so here we're set up on the lathe. As you can see, we got just a piece of old 1.5-inch pipe stuck in the galvanized piece of water pipe in there. We've got a little bit of movement on the dial indicator. I just wanted it to barely touch so that we don't get too much pressure in here. There's times where you're going to get more, and there's going to be times where you're going to get somewhat less. I haven't made contact yet with the pin here on the fine dial. Let me zoom you in here, and we will go to work on that. Okay, I'm going to give a little bit of a fine adjust here on this dial until we see movement on the needle. That will indicate that we've got pressure on the Okay, we're just going to give it a few thousandths here. Whoa. This thing is really sensitive, so we don't need much pressure. Okay, we're on there. I mean, if I were to bump the thing here, it shows that we've got contact. So now we're just going to rotate, so we're going to watch this one and this one simultaneously. We see we got quite a bit of movement in the needle here. We got some in the needle up here, but very minimal. It's not even 1/1000th of a millimeter. It's about 1/2,000th of a millimeter, which let me figure that out here right quick on my handy dandy little calculator on my in inches. Let's see. So we've got 0.0005. That is, oh my God, I can't even figure it out. Let's see here. That's what it is. I'll put that in the screen down below here. So that's 5 decimal places behind the 0 is what we're getting in movement here on this part of the dial indicator based on the pressure of this spring against the work. So we can see that, you know, do we really need a rigid indicator or a base, or is it enough just to have one that resists the force of the spring in here? And I would say what's on the market now is probably as good as we're ever going to need. So anyway, on to other and bigger, better things. Well, YouTubers, that's a wrap for today's product review and small magbase indicator challenge. Hope that was informative enough for you. I don't get paid for these kind of things. I wish I did, but unfortunately I haven't found any sponsors. Of course, I haven't really made an effort to go find one either. So, but anyway, these are just some of the tools that I work with every day, and so it's important that you have something fairly decent that when you're working with tools like, you know, such tools, that you have something that you can, you know, depend on. And that's one of the reasons I did the previous video on 10 top tools for noobs. You got to be able to depend on your tools. If you can't do that, there's you know, there's something wrong. But anyway, I hope this was informative to you guys out there and gals. In case you're considering, you know, picking up a magbase, you know, what should I buy? What should I buy? Well, these are fully articulated ones. Man, they're hard to beat. There's these other ones from, I think, Mitutoyo, or one of those Japanese companies that has the slinky arm kind of thing. And I haven't, you know, I've heard mixed reviews about those, so I can't comment on those. But this one, like I said, is comparative to the Noga. There's also a German manufacturer, H&G. I'll put it in the screen below. I don't remember it off the top of my head. And they're all similar. They're all hydraulic. Then there's the mechanical ones out of China. But my opinion on stuff out of China has deteriorated, shall we say. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this review and challenge. So if there's anybody out there that has two mag bases or wants to see what kind of deflection in their mag base is, go ahead, shoot a video, put the link in the description, or I can't put your link in the description below, but if you email me the link, go into my channel, you know, there's the email address that you can send the link to, or you know, with YouTube, it's kind of quirky when you put links in the comment section, then they get tagged as spam. I'll keep an eye out so that folks out there making a video about this kind of stuff and putting their link in the comment section below, that it goes right to, you know, to being published, so where, you know, the rest of the viewership can get access to it. I realize it's kind of a pain in the butt, and then, you know, I've had several other viewers that have music channels, for example, that promote free music for your YouTube videos, and YouTube tagged them as spammers a long time ago, and it's like, you know, if these guys are just putting a link to their YouTube channel in there, I don't see anything wrong with that, and I don't view it as spam. So anyway, just put your video link in the comment section. If you have any thoughts or questions on the performance of these items, again, you know, put it in the comment section below. I'm always happy to answer and keep you guys informed. I realize I haven't been doing a whole lot of machining videos lately. I've been, you know, doing project work that's, you know, just dog boring. So when I get back to working on the planer, which will be shortly, we'll get back to making some machining videos. And then, of course, woodworking videos will follow at some point in time as well. But anyway, that's a wrap for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And leave your thoughts, comments, critiques, ideas, and suggestions in the comment section below. And we will see you again soon.